actually, our whole theme about today's show is about being alive and about how being alive as a human being is just as sacred as being a spiritual alive being, and how to follow your joy, follow your
and how we can be connected to everything and do our spiritual job, teaching, healing, way shower, starseed, all that kind of stuff. But we can also be in the human vessel and actually enjoy human experience on this planet as well. So right now we're seeing a lot of separation, especially in teachers, healers and awakening souls, and it's really, really important that we bring you back down to this into this beautiful vessel, you know, like that you chose to be in at this time. So
we touched on this last week.
Yeah.
In the being an empath, a lot of stuff that's written about is sort of doom and gloom and difficult and problematic, and it doesn't have to be that way. So
it's about absolute acceptance of all aspects of who you are, however you are, and learning to love yourself with all your good bits and all your faults and failings. And it's about taking a really honest look at how over the years women have been made to feel, and the fact that there is a shame involved in actually celebrating our bodies, that there is something to be we've been suppressed for such a long time and not allowed to step into our power. And it's really important that we reclaim that.
And we want to share a little bit about our individual journeys with this as well. And so I don't know, should I start?
You start!
I'll start. When I grew up in a very small coastal beach town in Australia, on the east coast of Australia.
What's that?
Coffs
I love
Harbour.
Coffs. Yeah, I didn't even know it was Coffs Harbour.
It's the home of the big banana.
I love that.
Beautiful. But everyone I grew up with, ironically, most of the girls were like blonde, very skinny. It was a very surfy town, and I am actually not a natural blonde. When I grew up, I was quite round as a child. I had brown hair. When I got to about year 5, so probably around 11, I started to put on weight, and I got very I put on weight, and I was very unconfident. I was bullied a lot at school, and I didn't really know about body image, and I didn't really care what I looked like. I didn't understand how to even make myself look better. I was not aware of it until I started to learn to compare myself to other people. And other girls especially, because it was all about going to the beach, and it was a hot climate, so it was beach, bikinis, trying to attract boys and all of that stuff. So I grew up with started my kind of teenage years with a very bad body image. And since then, obviously, I've had this big journey to learn to love my body, love myself, and love all parts of me. And I think a lot of people go through that, women especially, because there's all this societal pressure on, and I mean, I'm just laughing at us because we've taken a little while getting ready to film. We've all been like putting our makeup on.
Spirit is laughing at us right now, and if you could have seen behind the scenes about 10 minutes ago, you'd be
the lighting right,
because it was like, I don't want to sit there because my hips look too big, my side is not right.
Wrong profile.
And the reason why I want to share this as well is because I would never have spoke like this before, because to be whatever you want to class as a spiritual teacher, ascended being, whatever, we have to let go of glamour, and we have to come away from all of that, and we can't be that anymore if we want to be ascended. When in fact, I've had to go through my own journey. I'll get into that in a minute, but to be back in my body and enjoying hair and makeup, and why not, So we were all getting ready, and we were like proper girls. You wouldn't believe we were all like these ascended beings, Christ and so we love ourselves. We do love ourselves, but it's just hilarious because it was got the better side. It was got the better side cheek, on the camera.
What colour lipstick shall I wear with my red top? Are we going to match?
We clash.
We could never clash, darling.
So you're saying, you had that, you started in childhood then?
Very young, actually. It was really like, it was a co-ed school. I never actually felt comfortable with how I looked until for the last 2 years of school I got sent away to an all-girls boarding school. And then I actually felt safe because I was around all women. But I was bullied by boys and girls at school for how I looked. Fat Alex, and imagine Fat Alex running in the sports carnival and all sorts of things. It was like, but I've done all my healing around it. It's fine. Yeah. But it's actually it's taught me a lot about learning to love myself, especially my body image. And it's kind of ironic I'm blonde now, but so I'm more comfortable this way anyway.
And I think most women, most women go through this at some point, whether it's being, bullied or told things from the outside, or whether it's just you bullying yourself, So I do think that this is a real thing. Mine was very similar, but mine wasn't my body. I always was quite happy with the body side of things, but it was my face. So
That's a little bit of an issue.
it was my face. I went through what you call ugly stage, and although my mum would say that's no such thing, well, to me there was, and bushy eyebrows that went all the way across.
Oh yeah, this one.
And then my teeth came out, and I went through a real ugly stage.
But what was you comparing yourself? What told you that was ugly?
I was comparing myself to the girls in my class who were turned out well. They had nice features and things like that, and I just didn't have that. So so I actually, to heal myself, I wasn't spiritually awake back then. So what I did was I went to college and I did the hair and beauty, and I mainly did it because I wanted to transform my face. So most of my life up to about 6 years ago, 5 years ago actually, I wore makeup to hide what was underneath.
Wow.
I did. So
if
anybody knows me from Walk Talk Read Angels and my past and me being in a band and all that kind of stuff, all that image was my armour.
Yeah.
So I had to go through the transition of stripping back. So I did strip back to nothing, like hair normal, no makeup, and I had to go through months and months of getting used to that face that I hated for so long. So now I love that. So when I wear makeup, which I still do, I wear it because I love it. But I celebrate I enhance my beauty. I don't need to wear it, and that's where I am. So we need to be where we don't need to wear it, but we don't need to
not wear it.
To not wear it.
No, it's
a
choice, right?
It's a choice.
We have choices.
Yeah.
And it's really important that I know some people are going to watch this and they're going to go,
I know what they're gonna
beauty.
say. Yeah.
We get told, spiritual people who are awakened, they will say to us right now, it's beauty's on the inside, and you shouldn't care about the outside.
Yeah,
but actually, I now disagree with that, because I think I know that my body is my temple and my vessel that is housing my soul, and I want to give it the best. I want to embrace it and I want to look after it. So if I want to enhance it with a bit of makeup and do my hair, then I'm going to do that.
We decorate
It doesn't-
everything.
Well, even in ancient Egypt, they wore lapis lazuli makeup. They embellished themselves with beautiful jewellery and they did their hair.
And in those in the jungle, they get different plants, etc.
Now walking.
So I was going,
I love paint.
as I was getting more ascended and I was working with the ascended masters and with all that stuff, I felt guilty.
Yeah.
So I went through the guilt stage of everyone's going to think I'm fake, because I am teaching about loving yourself, and here I am covering myself
Right
up.
there was your soul speaking.
Yeah.
People are going to think I'm a fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was your soul
Exactly.
saying this thought process is not you.
It's
Do
not valid.
what you need to do.
I do what makes me feel good.
Exactly.
So we work in 100% divine service. That's why we're here creating these videos. Yeah, we embrace our shells and we decorate them.
Yeah, we only get this one once. Once, that's it, just once.
Yeah.
We have to make the most of it.
And it's really, really important.
Especially as you're getting older, I noticed as I'm getting older, when I was I'm turning 40 this year.
Excuse me. As the veteran of the group here, who's just last year hit
second command.
50.
And you look younger than, like the youngest of the group.
But can I just say, because having hit 50, which I when I grew up, I didn't like my face or my body.
Can we just say how ridiculous
I know.
that is? It's just that.
Supermodel, right?
And so I had a huge struggle, and it was the same thing for me. Makeup and having outrageous hair and being as kind of strong in my look as possible. So I went through the goth phase and then kind of a punk phase and then a romantic phase. And my nickname growing up was Weirdo. Mine too! Because I was determined, absolutely determined to not fit in with anybody.
Yeah.
And
That
I
was
didn't
me.
want to be the same as anybody.
Yeah.
And all my friends would wear, they all had nice haircuts and they wore nice smart clothes. And I remember my mother saying to me, why can't you be more like your friends? Because then she thought I would be accepted by society. And I said, I don't want to be accepted. I don't want to be the same as them. I don't want to fit into the norm. And I was absolutely delighted to be the odd one out and to not be the one fitted in. But I also knew that makeup was, and that look was a shield, it was a protection.
Yeah, it was for me.
Because somewhere deep down in my subconscious, there was a part of me saying, if I'm rejected by people, it will be because of my shield.
Yeah.
It will be because I look hard,
Not because of you.
not because of me. So there was a part of me that was inside,
Yeah.
that was terrified of being rejected. There was a part that was really wounded.
Mm-hmm.
So I created this facade that was really like, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care. I'm not interested. And the irony was that I would go to places where everybody was very, in my term, normal and all looking the same, and I would still get chatted up. And I remember thinking, what's wrong with you people? Like, don't you get it? And the whole point of me being totally different to all of you was just supposed to leave
I knew it was
me
a
alone.
challenge for them.
I think possibly it might have been.
Mine was a combination of that, but then I had that creativity as well.
Yeah.
So I wanted to create this, like you said, it's bringing yourself out of what you consider the normal
Yes.
society.
Absolutely.
And I didn't resonate with that anyway. So
Yeah.
it was, and I think a lot of people who was watching this, you know, the star seeds, the ones that are here for mission, waking up, all that kind of stuff, they all feel like that. They all feel like they don't fit in, so they do everything to create that like energy for themselves.
Weight as well, like I think the weight is
Yeah.
a protection.
And that was a protection for me as well. So I know that one of my escapes, and you know, I put this out there now, is that I started drinking alcohol at a really young age,
Yeah.
because that was also a way of escaping from
Well,
who I
Friday,
was
Saturday
and
nights
into
were
my
all
body.
nights, weren't they?
And so getting drunk was a way of escaping from the world
Yeah.
and not actually being a part of it. And it gave you a different sense.
Yeah.
It gave you a false sense
Yeah.
of confidence and a false sense of security. And in those early years, part of me thought that in order for me to enjoy myself, that I had to do that I had to get drunk, that I had to create this other persona. And while I was that person, then I felt okay to do whatever I wanted in the world. And I ended up, when I left school, being very creative and artistic and not ticking any of the boxes. So the
We're all
careers
very
advisors
creative, so-
didn't know what to do with me because I was doing art, I was doing, all sorts of creative things, but they just didn't know where to put me. And their suggestion was you either work in a bank or you work for Marks and Spencer's.
Oh, yeah.
Or,
I didn't even get
or-
that. I just got hairdresser.
or you become a hairdresser. And I was either going to be a fashion designer or a hairdresser. And hairdressing was kind of in the family, and I was doing everyone's hair and makeup anyway. And somebody told me that they had learned hairdressing and then they travelled around the world with a pair of scissors in their bag. And that being able to cut hair was a way that you could always do it. But I also like the fact that you could change how somebody felt by the way they looked.
Yeah.
And so it was also the era of pop videos, so I quite fancied being a hair and makeup artist. So I studied hairdressing and I did makeup.
I did.
And that was, again, part of the thing of changing the outside.
Yeah.
So I was able to change how I looked, but helped other people to change how they looked. And it was, for a long time, that was really important, until I realised that actually it was the connecting with people, and it was talking to them and listening to them and getting them to see things and themselves from a different perspective that worked.
So I think that when people go through their awakening, like I did, and we strip back, you know, so that we're guided by, you know, whoever, the angels, masters, whoever you are guided by, we're guided to strip back, aren't we, to start loving ourselves. And I think we confuse that with having to be, create this persona of what we think people should see as a spiritual teacher. So I believe now that I had to strip back because I had to heal something.
Yeah.
But then once I went there into that place and I healed that and I finally loved myself as a plain Jane, if you want to say, then
She's
Are
serious.
you kidding?
Yeah, right.
You
Plain
could have
Jane.
been plain anyway. Yes, girl.
But once I'd stripped back, which I thought, I didn't realise at the time that the stripping back, which is what we all go through when we're awakening, especially women, we go through that cleansing stage, you know, the toxins and the makeup and all
Everything
that kind of
comes
stuff. So everything comes off, but I believe that, for me, I thought that was how I was supposed to be, like the new me. I thought that was a transition coming into the ascended one. So then I was looking in the mirror thinking, I miss the colour, I miss being creative with myself. So it's taken me another 2 years to finally, this year, start putting the slap on it again and do my hair.
I'm enjoying it.
I realise that now I have healed. I'm not putting this on to cover myself up.
No.
Yeah, it's to
There's a
celebrate who
difference.
you are, absolutely.
I'm celebrating now.
And as I said, this all comes down to the old spiritual teachings.
Yeah.
We're not in those teachings anymore, so now it's time to be vibrant and alive,
So we can be one day plain and wearing a cloth if you want, and then one day we could be doing supermodel hair and makeup.
Exactly.
It's whatever we feel. It doesn't mean that we are ego, full of ego. It doesn't mean that we are fake. It doesn't mean anything like that. What it means is we're just in our power, divine energy, feminine energy, and we're celebrating that. Tomorrow you might see me with a bandana on and an Indian feather sticking out. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to be tomorrow.
No,
Today's today and tomorrow's tomorrow.
And it's all your choice. It's all about following your heart, your guidance, what makes you happy, what makes you comfortable, how you want to celebrate you. We're all teachers of, you know, helping people to facilitate coming back to self-love and self-acceptance, right? So it's all about, you know, however you want to celebrate that, go for it. I mean, you know, and it's funny, like, you two make me laugh, like how you're talking about the punk and the goth era and trying to rebel and standing out. I used to try so desperately hard to fit in. I was the other way around. I was like, I have to be like everybody else. And I've always been, it was always a really uncomfortable journey to try to come out and embrace that I was different.
In fact, the mere thought of fitting in freaks me out.
Me too.
In fact, my worst nightmare would have been going out on a Saturday night and seeing another girl with a pair of earrings the same or dressed the same. I'd be mortified and go home.
Yeah, I used to make my own.
I would make my
most of
own
the
stuff.
stuff
So
to be
I used to alter clothes just so I knew I was definitely not going to bump into somebody murdering it.
I hated standing out. I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want anyone to single me out. I didn't want to be looked at. I didn't want to be
my
seen.
pink hair tells you all. I like to stand out.
My hair went through green, purple, orange. I mean, literally the spectrum of the rainbow.
Yeah.
It literally. So you were saying you were also goth. So talk to us a little bit about
I
your.
was goth, but I don't kind of, I don't know. I'm listening to you guys, and I don't really know where I kind of fit in with that, because I was something completely different in that I sabotaged myself.
Okay.
So I never had any. There was no sort of breakout with me. I was never really aware of my physical, you know, my external. But what I did do was I would sabotage myself. So
guilty of that.
Yeah, anorexia was my thing. So I think, I don't know, I wasn't brought up in a girly environment too. I have no relationship with my mother whatsoever. So there was never any, you know, prettiness or girliness or anything like that. So I don't know. I kind of don't really know how to explain this, but I've never had that sort of physical awareness of myself. You know, I've done modelling, I've done lots of different things in my life with my appearance, but I take it for absolute granted. Do you know what I mean? So I can't really kind of go, oh yeah, well I had this issue. I think being skinny, but then that doesn't make sense as to why I self-sabotage with the, well it does, I know why I did it. It was all about control, and my life was out of control.
How old were you when that was happening?
I've had bouts of it throughout of my life. The last bout was last year, wasn't it? When I went through a massive purge of something awful in my life, and I couldn't put food to mouth whatsoever. But it's not a conscious thing. It's not about me being fat. I don't look. It's not about my physical body. Nothing has ever really been about my physical body. So I don't know how I kind of fit into that, because I've not had that thought process about me. I think the only times I felt particularly self-conscious is because I'm partially deaf in my inner ears, and I had to wear glasses, so I wore hearing aids and glasses at one stage when I was a kid. So
did they have sellotape in the middle?
No, but because the hearing aids went over my ears and they were quite chunky, they used to make my glasses sit at a funny angle on my face.
Oh, I can just
I
imagine.
know, it's so awful.
Can I just say that? All I can see is green light.
Yeah.
Raphael is in the house.
Blue
Yeah,
orbs.
we've had so much activity, and it's just amazing that we all see the same thing as well.
And what's also really bizarre is that, you know, this coming together of all of us is fairly new, and we're still learning about each other. And the bizarrest synchronicities and the comparisons between these two and us two, because I've also dabbled, skirted around the idea of anorexia.
Really?
I also had the experience.
You're not nicking my mate.
We're sisters. But for me as well.
Yeah.
There was a point when everything went completely chaotic in my life, when everything went upside down, and I did the same
Sorry,
thing.
I'm going to interrupt you. You got Lippy on your teeth.
Thank you. See,
Talking
this is
about
the vision thing.
I
You know,
As a
I
hazard to filming.
You know what? I think
and wearing red lipstick is always a danger.
for me, it wasn't about the physical. It was about the spiritual.
Yeah.
Right.
Because for me, I was an awakened child. My friends who were going to be watching this, they used to call me a witch at school.
Right, yeah, which weirdo.
You know, yeah.
So I was a witch.
So for me, it wasn't anything about my physical body whatsoever. It was always about what's going on inside me.
Yeah.
Why are they not doing what I can do? Why can't they see that? Why don't they know that the teacher's going to go absolutely mental today and I'm already prepared doing as I'm told? Everyone's misbehaving. And I knew the teacher was going to. I nearly name dropped the teacher. She does. Board rubbers. Say no more.
But we're all, because this is the whole point, isn't it? It's that we're sharing the fact that everyone's experience is different through life, and whether it is about the physical or whether it's about the emotional or whatever aspect.
Well, the physical is usually a representation of what's going on inside anyway.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, but we all have had our own issues with who we are, and certainly who we are as women.
Yeah.
And being female growing up, because we've talked about being tomboys. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
was
was
in
a tomboy.
complete denial of my kind of girlyhood in the early years. I still sometimes struggle with it now. I think too many lifetimes as a man, probably, because I'm much more kind of aligned with my masculine side. But I didn't play with the girls at school. I mean, my mum got called to the school because I always played with the boys. I would much rather go and invent a game where I
That
was
was like me
or
for
an
my
archaeologist
dreams as well. So I was always like, I used to hang out with the guys.
Yeah,
because
much more
I felt
comfortable.
more comfortable.
Yeah.
With that.
I was exactly the same. Tomboys, always boys, always friends, always boys. I had the girl friends,
I used to
but the
run away
girls
from the
were
boys.
the
I
girls
like to
were
try and run
tomboys.
towards them to kiss them, but I would then pin them down and kiss them,
I used to kiss
or
them.
I would run the other way.
Is that illegal?
I broke a boy's arm.
Did you?
I was only about 5. It was a green stick fracture. It wasn't.
Just to clarify.
To be fair, we were playing catch and kiss. That was the rules of the game.
Caught him.
And I caught him. Well, I tried to catch him, and then he ran away. He fell and hurt his arm, and then we couldn't tell the teachers that we were actually playing catch and kiss. I was the sort of girl that I knew what I wanted and I went after it. So terrible.
But I think for myself, strangely, I've recently had an experience that has just brought in this like gush of this divine feminine energy, and I'm not going to talk about it
Yet.
However, you know, I've had to, you know, throughout my life, I've had abusive parents, I've had abusive relationships, you know, and I've always had to have that masculine energy in me. So the learning to be a tomboy as a child actually served me a purpose, you know, because I needed that toughness. I wouldn't have got through what I've gone through, you know, with all that sort of feminine energy. But I've been so blessed in that very, very recently, a new energy came into my life, and it's literally, I've opened to something that I've never felt before in my life, and there's a whole new calmness with me, there's a whole new love about me, there's a whole new confidence around me in my femininity, you know. It's such a beautiful experience. I feel really blessed to be
I mean,
that now.
you know, the reason why we are doing this video today about this, it's not just about our experiences in you know, loving ourselves as women and stuff. It really is for a lot of you, including men as well, because I get emails from guys as well. And it is about bringing ourselves back down to the human level, if you want to say. Because again, everything that we teach and talk about, it is all relates back to ascension and to awakening and to going through these transitions. So it's not just, you know, not just talking for the sake of it. There's a reason why we're talking about this, because there's a huge separation on the planet right now, and we're not losing, but it's vital that we're here to do the work on Gaia, and we need to enjoy the experience. And too many people are flying off into different dimensions and different star systems and God knows where. They're everywhere but here, because they're not coping with being in the human vessel. And I get guys also say to me about,
But that's okay too. It's being a multi-dimensional human. It's part of that, right? But it's about grounding it.
it's about grounding it here. But that's what we were talking about, because we've experienced a lot with they're not grounding it. That's what's happening. They're going up.
Escapism.
They're escaping, and because they feel they can't, like women, they feel like they can't do the glamour anymore, because glamour means that you're still in the ego.
All
So it
religions
becomes,
teach
so they start to get guilty
for
for that.
that sacrifice.
So all of a sudden they can't go out with the girls anymore. They feel bad for having drink. They can't go shopping for shoes, because that's the glamour, that's the heat, that's the ego. All of a sudden that's where the separation starts to fall. And then they do everything to get away from that. So they connect, as in they're up in the stars all the time, which is great. I love to be up there. I mean, I'm always up there. I'm always with the higher realms, but I'm also, I know the
Grounded.
importance of bringing that Christ light and descending it into this body and walking earth with it.
Also, you can't
You know?
connect at a high vibration if you're not grounded. You have to
Exactly.
be in your
Absolutely,
body.
got to be in your body.
Otherwise, it's probably, it could be in a, you know, not a real place you're going to. And also, the higher dimensions are all here now, right?
Yeah.
They're not up there or down there or anywhere else. It's all here. It's all
Yeah.
within you. You are the center of your universe, and every thought creates that reality. So the more kind of thoughts we have of celebration of where we're already at, and being, you know, it is being in the present moment, not ignoring what's going on an emotional level, but being able to be present with all of that and to
Absolutely,
celebrate.
that's what it is, isn't it? It's being present with it and celebrating it, and it's that lovely balance. Oh my gosh, it opens up a complete new world, and you start to enjoy Earth in a different way than trying to escape Earth.
That actually just makes me feel sick.
Yeah.
Mother Gaia.
Yeah.
When someone says we start to enjoy
This is where I bow
This
to
is my
Andrea,
mother.
because I, even though I love Gaia, I mean, we've had some profound, by the way,
Yeah,
we've had some
Gaia.
profound experiences with
Gaia's
Gaia.
daughters. Come on now.
But even though I know my mission is here to walk this earth, to help people, to help Gaia, to do all of that, I know that I was still so connected to like Arcturus and Sirius, and I was just all the time I couldn't. It wasn't Gaia that I didn't want to be here for. It was the human race. I went through the human race like, oh, can't cope. It's the negative energy. I went through all of that. So I did anything but.
But there
be
is
here.
also an understand. There's the difference. Here we go. Understanding to inner standing. Okay, so there's understanding Gaia's energy.
Yeah.
Everyone takes it for granted.
Yeah.
They do. They take it for granted. Would you take
Absolutely.
your mother's energy for granted? Of course you wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? And then there's inner standing it, and that's when you feel her. That's when you feel your purpose, that's when you feel your mission, that's when you know that you were called here for her. You have a duty to her. You know, we are here to raise the vibration on this planet, to help rid the patriarchy, to bring in the balance of the masculine and the feminine. You know, this is why we're here, this is why we're teaching, this is the importance. I
can even feel the energy of
But also,
Gaia.
whenever someone's going through a really difficult time, and lots of people are in spiritual crisis right at the moment because they float off. They have all these amazing mystical, spiritual, stellar, angelic experiences, but a lot of people are having to look at their shadow. And when you're going through shadow work, I went through this like the last 2 years. And because I'm very, very clairvoyant, I could see some of the low vibration entities that were around me, and I started to see a lot of what's really going on this planet. And at one point I rang her and I was like, I think I've got psychosis, I'm freaking out, I can't tell which way is up, which way is down, everything, right? And what saved me is that I had to come back to Earth. I had to come right back to Earth. I had to go out in my garden and I had to literally lie on the ground, close my energy field right down, make sure I was right in my body, make sure I was just connected to my 3D life for a little while, and just be normal.
That's what I
just be a normal girl. Go shoe shopping.
I went shopping.
I went shopping.
Yeah.
Sorry, I love shopping.
The only time I would advocate and let her go
We
shopping.
don't have to sacrifice being human to be our spiritual
I
self.
wear it a few times, then I'm like, I need something different now.
Okay,
and I never throw anything away.
I read that one.
Shop.
But no, I agree, and that's what happened with me. And it was, when I say serious, I mean, oh my gosh, only this year, I think it was maybe 2 months ago, I was in a really serious separation. I know this
You're seeing the truth, really, of what's happening, but it's overwhelming. Then your logical brain can't marry it up. You're seeing more. It is the veil that's vanishing, but it's kind of seeing the underworld in a way.
Yeah.
But it's like you have to be able to be in your body to cope.
But I love being on Earth now, and it's taken me to the age of 40 years old to be able to say that I love Gaia. And if I ever do, like, let's say, watch the news or you see something really bad, and it affects us. It does, because we're sensitive.
Yeah.
But I'm 99% working with the higher mind now. So no matter how much chaos I see, no matter how much torture I see it from a different angle.
It's like the eye of the storm.
I can see it. I can see the reasons and why and what's coming. So it's like, I can see the future of what's happening. So that gives me calmness as well. But if I do go into that place of like a lot of you are watching, you will go into that place. I know some of you are watching and you are going to that place of despair, and that's from. I'm losing. There's a point I'm trying to get to, but I can't. Where was that?
But I think the point is that the despair is going to happen and it is going to be there, but it isn't going to last.
Yeah.
And it's about finding the purpose or the point in it.
It's
about
acknowledging. It's come back. So when I go into this is what it's like for me. When I go into despair, and it happens now and again. I have done. I thought, oh God, the world's gone mad. I can't cope. What I do now is I connect straight into Gaia.
Yes.
And I talk to Gaia.
Yes.
And I let Gaia speak to my heart.
As you would your mum.
And I feel
She
Gaia.
is your
And as
mum.
soon as she speaks to me, and believe me, she speaks into my. I can feel it. And as soon as I get that energy from her, I'm like, okay, I'm back on it.
I have an exercise actually that I teach, that I do, that I sort of did it one day just intuitively and channeled it, and then it's become part of my precious wisdom system that I do. And it's connected to this energy of us as the tree of life. But we have a beautiful symbiotic reciprocal relationship with the trees and with the tree spirits. And what the trees showed me is that they are all one connected consciousness. They're all connected, as we are. But a tree, if you breathe, we breathe out carbon dioxide, and when we breathe in oxygen, and it's this beautiful, they need the carbon dioxide and we need the oxygen and vice versa. But what trees also do, and what nature does really, the trees have shown me this exercise, is that if you hand over all your fears, doubts, worries, lower emotions to a tree, the trees will transmute it back into love, and they will shower golden love energy back over you. And they need it, right? They need it. You're not dumping on them. Yeah. That's their job. That's what they've come. They will transmute it for you. So when you hug a tree, it's so deeply healing. It's not just about you're connecting heart to heart with Mother Nature, with that aspect.
And that's why it's so important to get back out into nature. We've created a whole society that is based on these concrete worlds that we live in. And I know, me for one, I start to get really antsy after a while if I haven't been out in nature and in the countryside. Partly because I think, and I have to stop myself from thinking about it, but I do start to get really concerned about the insects. You don't live for a very long time, and I see that we've covered everything in concrete, and I just imagine them under the surface coming up to get some air and going dunk and hitting the top.
I've never thought of it.
Oh, I know, sorry, I should put that idea out there. I mean, and karmic, they would have chosen to have that experience. They would have chosen that experience. I have to go into that. Everyone chooses.
Also,
I do think leave some grass in your garden. Don't cover it all up with paving stones. Or if you do have to put paving stones, leave some spaces for the insects to come up so they can breathe.
I also think they do have quite strong intuition, so they will find.
They will know. But if you're in a city and there isn't much, please just do not pave over your entire garden.
It's so important.
Fake grass, no.
Why would you have
requires a
fake
little bit of
grass?
effort to take a lawnmower out and cut the grass.
And when you're cutting the grass, you're connecting to the nature.
Yes.
And it's the smell of fresh lawn.
Andrea's
nature.
She stayed at my house and she knows how my partner work with nature.
Amazing.
So again, and by the way, on Facebook I have a page called Nurture Nature. So head on over there and give it a like because we post lots of things on there. But the nurture nature, the nature is so important to me and my partner. We talk to birds, they speak back to they speak back to us.
I made friends with a robin.
Every insect in our garden is our friend, and we create a non-chemical space for them. And our garden is not manicured at all. You've seen it. It's got everything in there, nettles everywhere. But it literally, we have a lot of animals that live there. Everything comes in.
I can talk to crickets.
Yeah,
they were singing with us in.
I can talk sheep.
Oh my gosh, I can confirm this. I can't do it at the moment.
We went kayaking, and there was a sheep at the side of the river, and I literally went meh,
and it spoke
back to me
properly.
Spoke back to me.
Animals get it, and that's the thing with animals is that it's pure unconditional love. When you connect with animals, they don't care what they look like. They don't care if their hair's a bit messy or if they're covered in mud. We just have to go back into that. Absolutely.
My cat talks to the birds.
My cat talks to me. I have a priestess cat without a doubt.
Yeah. Me too. But she actually vocally will mimic birds. She sits on the window sound.
Yeah.
So cute.
And part of it is remembering, and I go back to some of my past life memories where I remember a lifetime as an Essene. back in early biblical times and as a Native American Indian, and remembering the beauty of being so connected to the earth and that everything was sacred. Everything, every blade of grass, the sky, the clouds, the tree, everything was honoured. And when you spent your whole life actually being in gratitude and saying thank you to everything that's there around you, and we're all connected to it, it changes everything. And I sometimes forget, but I really do try. When I wake up, the first thing I try and do in the morning is to just say thank you for everything that's out there. And each step I take, I try and be aware of everything that's around me. Even when I buy lunch, I try and, in the back of my mind, say thank you, not just for the food, but also to say thank you to the people that produced it, and the people that grew it, and to just allow that energy of gratitude.
Well, that's your foundation of the manifestation energies anyway.
Yeah.
That is literally like your building block. Gratitude is the starting place for everything.
So I can feel that this episode, because obviously we had a small idea of what we wanted to really bring through on this video, which was really about being on Earth and enjoying it in a human vessel. And I can now, as we've been going through, it's really becoming more Gaia, isn't it? It's like we're really being encouraged and asked in the most loving way to be present.
We have to. I think for me, my biggest, a few years ago, I was going through something incredibly traumatic. And it was very 3D, so it was involving people.
Yeah.
And my heart was literally being smashed to pieces. And I went into the garden in an absolute state, and this was my first real experience with Gaia. Although I've always felt her energy, it was the moment of complete clarification of why I'm here and what I'm doing. And she spoke to me, and it was a case of, who's more important to you, them or me?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, them. Like, I didn't quite understand what she was trying to get at. And she was like, well, hold on. So I give you ground to walk on, I give you air to breathe, I give you food, I give you shelter, I give you love, I give you, name lots of things. Now who's more important? And the penny kind of dropped, because it was like, well, without that, I don't even have that with the people and the, the torment and everything. Yeah. And she was like, now turn your love to me, to the most important. And without, I'm going to get emotional. Without that experience, I don't think I'd be here, because what I was going through was so traumatic, breaking me down. Like, I can't even go there. It was that painful and that deep and dark. But without that experience with Gaia, and that's why you'll hear me speak so passionately, because I get it and I understand it and I know why I'm here. And she explained why I'm here, and that's it. I am fully Gaia girl.
and she does speak in many ways. So it's,
it can be the wind.
I mean, she speaks through the element of wind.
A
lot.
Yeah.
And so it could be the most peaceful day with not even a slight wind. And if you can ask her to do this, and she will blast you. And she blasted us, didn't she? And my head then flew across the field, and it happened again and again and again. So this Gaia is a real being, a real consciousness, and a real force, absolutely. So we need to be here for her and enjoying it.
And we need to honour it. And I remember years ago, and going to off track, having an experience with ayahuasca with some Brazilian shamans, and I connected to a spirit being who called herself Mother Gaia, who again I think is very connected to Gaia and Gaia, very connected to the earth. And this experience was quite extraordinary in that it took me into the deepest, darkest, worst fears that I've ever had in my life. And simultaneously, the most beautiful, blissful, connected, it took me to the extremes of experience. And while I was in the throes of terror and fear, and then got reminded by this Mother Gaia, she turned up and she said, what have you been doing for the last few years? Just think about what you've been doing and the work that I've been doing on myself and how my work has evolved. And in all the explorations, particularly going into other lifetimes and looking at what my journey had been, I'd been tested, challenged to find my strength. And there had been initiations that I'd gone through, and there had been sacrifices, all these different things. And in every one of them, the solution was to stay out of my mind and to stay out of fear and to drop into my heart centre and drop into the energy of love. And suddenly, while I was in this terrifying experience where I thought I was going crazy and I thought I was going to lose my mind, I thought, because I disappeared. There was nothing tangible of me, so I couldn't find myself. It was really scary. And I thought, well, I can't find my physical form, but I know where my heart centre is. So I just moved my energy, I moved my awareness into that space. And the moment I did that, everything transformed, and it became so beautiful and blissful. And then I could hear her laughing. And then she said, right, now you get it.
That's the same story as mine.
Exactly. And then to show me again, I was flipped back out into the fear. And then I was flipped back into and I came back into my heart centre, into the energy of love. And it was like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now this is beautiful. And then I heard her laughing, and she said, well, because you know what? You paid for it, you asked for it, now you're going to get it. And she said, and while we're here, she said, you've got a choice. You've got an absolute choice how you have this experience, because it's not going to last forever. And she kind of said this twice, and I realised she wasn't just talking about my ayahuasca experience, which was lasting for about 10 hours, by the way. When I heard her say it again, I realised she was talking about my life. And she said, the choice you have every moment of every day is that you can either go into the fear, or you can stay in the energy of love.
Yes.
What's it going to be?
Yes.
Which one are you going to be?
This is so
What's it going to be, girl?
It's so the same story.
Same but different.
Yeah.
So again, you know, all the practices, whatever it is that we're doing, and we all work slightly differently, but it's sort of the same but different. It's all about teaching people that you know, that spark of light, the spark of pure unconditional love, the spark of the divine exists inside of every single one of us.
Yes.
And whenever we're lost or wherever we don't know where to go, that's it.
Yeah.
That is the answer. Go inside, find
Stop
that.
searching outwards.
Yeah, it's there, it's in you, and when you drop into that space, it doesn't matter what you do, you'll see the answers. It will start to make sense.
Beautiful story.
I so resonate with it.
Oh, bonding time. Bonding time. It's amazing. By the way, this is like, we're still getting to know each other on
Human
film,
level.
you know, on a human level, on a high level, we all know each other very well, okay, many lifetimes. So we're still discovering things about each other as well, and we're doing it like on video. So you're in the moment with us,
like,
you know?
resonating, the moments where it's like light bulb moments coming on, it's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
So I think maybe, because I'm conscious of time, that
I think you just know when it comes to an end because it goes quiet.
I just want to say one little thing about divine feminine, divine masculine, and sort of those energies, and how I sort of have come to experience them or learn what they sort of represent. And to me, the feminine aspect is our intuition, almost the unknown. It is the darkness, but it's like the womb space, waters. Right? It's the place that's sort of pre-manifestation or pre-creation. So the feminine, it's really the potential for anything to manifest, and it's that space that is, you know, everything and anything is possible, and it's the space between everything that has come into manifestation. And then to me, that divine masculine is the kind of bit that goes, right, now it's come into being. That's it. It's grounded.
Yeah.
So it's those two intertwined that is the absolute spark of creation. That God is not man, God is God and Goddess. It's the both. It's the all.
Everything's masculine.
Everything masculine and feminine, and even Gaia. But it's funny. Like, I've done a lot of sort of meditations to travel into Gaia, to travel into that space at the heart of Gaia, which is the all and the everything. It's like that space of pure unconditional love, pure manifestation. And one of the things that we've been mistaught, one of the things that really dishonors Gaia, is that a lot of the world religions, I'm not naming any names, have taught that hell is down there and that heaven is up there, right?
No.
It's all here now.
Absolutely.
And I just want to say that when you connect to Gaia, it's pure love. It's maternal.
Yes.
It's maternal that it's the maternal feminine from the potential for creation that has married with the masculine to produce this beautiful Mother Earth spirit that we have here, and she is not hell. Hell is just our perception. So we really need to redress this and start putting healing and love and nurturing back into Gaia as a reciprocal relationship.
This has been put out into the human world as well. You know, the old sort of the way men talk about women and you know
that the womb is being untouchable and you know when the menstrual cycle's happening, being unclean. I mean, what is that all about,
Yeah,
really?
no.
This is the space where those men were actually
They were
brought
born
into the
from.
world
Yeah,
from. They
exactly.
wouldn't be
And
here
their
without
sexuality is
that.
dirty,
Yeah.
and we should be ashamed of our body. You either have to be a virgin or a whore. I'm sorry.
I just think
We
it's
are
amazing
sexual
to be awake
beings.
women.
We are not. There was a video on YouTube recently of this beautiful, voluptuous black woman standing there naked and basically saying it's not allowed, it's not okay to show nipples on YouTube or on social media, but they'll show a shitload of violence in everything. Like my husband put on a movie last night, it was Transformers or something. And I phased out and I went, I cannot actually watch this because it was just all people blowing up machines, guns, violence. Like, I was like, there's no bloody plot to this at all. It's just mindless. Transformers.
It's my favourite
I know,
film.
I love Transformers. But it was like the fourth one.
Okay.
And there's very little dialogue in it
Yeah.
now.
Is that the
It's-
newest
it's
one?
just
Oh,
about-
I haven't watched that one.
It's just absolutely ridiculous. The level of
Yeah.
just
Pure violence.
Pure
There's
violence.
no
message.
There's no
No-
message.
There's no,
There's
nothing is
okay.
enhancing us.
Yeah,
You know,
and
if
I mean, there's a
anything,
little hint of there's good aliens, bad aliens, but again, it's
Yeah.
us against them mentality.
There's only one thing
It's
I
not-
need to know:
it's
is
not-
Bumblebee in it?
Yes.
Me too.
But he ends up with a female voice at one point. Sorry, spoilers.
So, I mean,
Oh.
in future, the
Husband.
thing that I would probably like, if we're going to finish this, I'd like to, for me, to personally just say to people that are going through their awakening, their ascension, and you know, wanting to escape and all that kind of stuff, to actually start enjoying being in the vessel, anchoring that divine light into your vessel and into Gaia, and to start enjoying, enjoy being a human being, and take that pressure off your shoulders about you can't do this and you can't do that and you only need to wear this, and you have let it all go, because this causes major issues, and it did for me, and I experienced it firsthand, and I don't ever want to go back there. I'm now enjoying being a human, so that's what I want to leave you with, is just to be present and celebrate your male or female, celebrate yourself, and just start connecting back down and bringing that light. Connect up, obviously.
Yeah.
We're all we're all there. I mean,
Up, down, and in.
Yeah.
Only aerobics.
It literally is, ascend the light down into the vessels and then into Gaia, and let's just spread that love.
Well, my healing system, precious wisdom, it's not about going up. We're actually connecting with the higher self and bringing it down.
Bringing it down.
Bringing it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ascension is the descension.
Gaia Zumba.
It is the
Yes.
it's alignment. It's alignment.
I can't believe I actually just did that on camera.
But like I said, if it wasn't for Andrea, I wouldn't be able to be here talking to people about this as well, because I would have left the vessel and gone. Seriously, I was on my way out.
Oh, we've all had those moments. There have been many moments in
And
my
now
journey falling out of
we
airplanes.
experienced it, so we could recognise
We
it
know.
in a lot of you that are watching this.
Experiences.
And go get yourself a cuppa. Go and have a dance.
Or have a glass of
And just
Prosecco.
remember that
Prosecco.
everything is here now. You're the centre of your universe.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go anywhere to
Yeah.
have
It's all in
a
you.
high vibration
Yeah.
experience. But if you're grounded, you're more likely to have a high
Yes.
vibration
Yes.
experience, because Gaia is very high vibration.
Glass of Prosecco sat under a tree.
This
That's
is
what
pure
we
vodka,
do.
by the way.
This is like the best.
It's pure light, liquid light.
Cheers.
Cheers.